Sugriva was astonished and fell flat on the ground at Rama's feet. He considered Vali as good as slain. Kneeling before Rama, he said, "You could kill with your arrows the gods and demons combined. Who can stand before you in battle? With you as my ally, my grief has totally dried up. O Rama, let us go quickly and make short work of Bali." Rama agreed, and they all left immediately for Kishkinda. Rama told Sugriva to go ahead and challenge Bali to a fight, and he would wait nearby. When Bali came out of the city, Rama would kill him. Sugriva stood outside Kishkinda and began to roar. Bali heard his brother and rushed out to fight. The two monkeys began a tumultuous and terrible combat that resembled a clash between Mars and Mercury in the heavens. Blinded by anger, they threw blows like thunderbolts at each other. Striking with their fists, palms, and feet, they pummeled each other, screaming with fury. Rama watched closely, bow in hand. He could not distinguish who was who. The two monkey brothers resembled each other closely, like the twin Ashwini gods. Rama did not therefore release his arrow for fear of hitting Sugriva. Soon Vali got the upper hand, and the battered Sugriva ran for his life. He dashed back to the Rishyamukha, closely followed by Bali, who stopped at the edge of the forest, near to Matunga's hermitage, saying, "Today you are spared." Sugriva lay grasping on the ground as Rama ran up to him. The monkey looked at the prince in surprise. Why did you not say truthfully that you had no intention of slaying Bali? Look at me now. I have been half killed by that fearful ape. O Rama, had I known you were reluctant, I would not have moved from this place. Rama consoled Sugriva, explaining that he was unable to distinguish the monkey from his brother. Their features, dress, and ornaments were too similar. He suggested that Sugriva again challenge Bali, but this time wearing some distinctive mark so that Rama could tell one from the other. Lakshman tied around Sugriva's neck a flowering creeper. Reassured, Sugriva got up and left again for Kishkinda. Lakshman and Sugriva strode in front, followed by Rama, Hanuman, and the other three monkeys. They soon reached the city, and again Sugriva went to the gates. He looked at Rama, still feeling fearful. The beating from Vali had shaken him. Rama saw Sugriva's anxious expression. He took the monkey by his shoulders and said, "Do not hesitate. Bali will presently roll in the dust, struck down by my arrow. I have never uttered a falsehood, even though I have been in adversity for a long time. Let go your mighty shout, O Sugriva, and Vali will quickly proceed to this spot. How can he brook a challenge in the presence of women? This shall be his last battle, and indeed his last day on earth." Sugriva accepted Rama's firm assurance, while the two princes remained concealed in a clump of bushes. He again began to shout out his challenge. His roar rent the air pitilessly. Animals fled confused in all directions, like women assailed by wicked men due to the failure of leaders to protect them. Birds dropped from the sky like gods whose pious merits have been exhausted. As Sugriva emitted his fierce cry, he sounded like the ocean lashed by a gale. Bali was in his inner chambers with his wives. Hearing Sugriva's challenge, he sat up in surprise. How had his brother returned so soon? Was he not satisfied with one thrashing? This time there would be no escape for that arrogant monkey. Bali was seized with fury. His limbs trembled, and his eyes turned crimson. Grinding his teeth, he leapt from his bed and ran toward the door. His wife Tara, seeing him about to go out, ran to him and held his arm. Her womanly intuition told her something was wrong. She spoke fearfully, "My lord, shake off this anger. Do not enter another combat with Sugriva. Although you are more powerful than your brother, I nevertheless feel misgivings. How has Sugriva become so fearless, even though he was only just beaten by you? Why does he now stand there roaring like a monsoon cloud? Surely he has found a powerful ally." Bali stopped and looked at his beautiful wife. She told him that she had heard how Sugriva had formed a friendship with two princes from Ayodhya. Tara described the power and glory of Rama, which she had heard described by Angada, Bali's son. Rama was unassailable in battle and capable of crushing vast armies. He was the supreme resort for the afflicted and had given assurance of safety to Sugriva. The Vanara queen begged her husband not to go out and fight. Instead, he should welcome Sugriva and install him as his prince regent. Tara implored her husband, "I consider Sugriva to be your foremost friend. You need not maintain this animosity. Bring him close with gifts and kind words. Along with Rama, he will prove your greatest ally. O valiant monarch, please do not enter another combat with Sugriva, for I fear it will be your last." Gripped by death, Bali could not accept his wife's wise advice. He reproached her as she stood before him weeping. "How can I tolerate this insolence? For a warrior who has never known defeat, brooking an insult is worse than death. I am not able to stand the arrogance of the weak Sugriva, much less his roar. O timid one, I shall not tarry here longer. Sugriva shall meet his end today." Bali told Tara she need not fear on Rama's account. He knew about the human prince. Rama was devoted to virtue and piety. He would never commit the sin of killing an innocent person, nor could he intervene in the fair fight of others. Bali ordered Tara to stay in the palace. He was going out to face Sugriva and would soon return, having killed his brother or sent him flying in fear. The queen bowed her head and, praying for her husband, returned sorrowfully to her rooms. Filled with rage and breathing heavily, Bali rushed out of the city gates. He saw Sugriva standing firm like a mountain, his reddish-brown body glowing like fire. Bali tightened his loincloth. Raising his fist, he charged furiously at his brother, shouting, "This iron-like fist, hurled at you like a mace, will return after taking your life." Remembering his brother's treatment of him, Sugriva was also worked up with anger. He threw a great punch at the onrushing Bali. The two monkeys clashed together, roaring like maddened bulls. Struck a swinging blow on the chest by Bali's two clenched hands, Sugriva vomited blood and looked like a mountain covered with a cascade of red ox eyes. He tore up a sal tree and dashed his brother over the head. Bali shook like a ship tossed in the ocean. He fell upon Sugriva and began pounding him with his knees and fists. The two monkeys fought fiercely, and gradually Bali once more gained the upper hand. Sugriva, with his vanity shattered, began fearfully looking about for Rama. He was becoming weaker and weaker. From behind the bush, Rama saw his chance. Bali stood over his collapsed brother, his arms upraised. Rama swiftly placed an arrow on his bow, releasing it with a sound resembling a crash of thunder. The arrow sped like a streak of lightning and hit Bali on the breast, sounding like another thunderclap. Bali fell to the ground like a hewn tree, uttering a great cry. He lay unconscious, with his body bathed in blood. Although struck by Rama's powerful arrow, the monkey did not die, as he was wearing a gold chain Indra had given him. By Indra's blessings, that chain was capable of preserving the life of whoever wore it. Lying there with his shattered garments and shining ornaments and the glowing arrow of Rama protruding from his chest, Bali looked like a colorful banner suddenly dropped to the ground. Rama and Lakshman slowly approached the mortally wounded monkey. Bali opened his eyes and looked up at Rama, who was smiling at him. The fallen monkey spoke with difficulty. "You are famous for your truth and virtue, O Rama. How then have you committed such an abominable act? What was my crime that I should be punished in this way? I did not attack you. Indeed, I was engaged in fair combat with another. Why then have you killed me, remaining concealed at a distance?" Bali accused Rama of irreligion, saying that he only posed as a virtuous person. Bali accused Rama of irreligion, saying that he only posed as a virtuous person. This heinous deed surely proved him to be otherwise. He had lost control of his mind and senses, overcome by desire and swayed by sentiment. Out of friendship for Sugriva, he had abandoned righteousness. Gasping for breath, Bali went on, "I cannot understand why you have acted in this way, O Rama. What did you have to gain by killing me, a mere monkey living in the forest and wild fruits? The scriptures condemn the eating of monkey flesh or the using of their skins. There was no reason to slay me. I have done you no harm at all. Surely this act will be condemned by all holy men, and you will go to hell." Bali censured Rama at length, speaking passionately. After some time, he closed his eyes and fell back exhausted. He felt regret. Why had he not listened to Tara? She had tendered him wise advice. By ignoring her, he had reaped the results of his impetuosity. The arrow in his chest burned like fire. Bali was shocked. How could the virtuous Rama have perpetuated such a vile deed? Rama waited for Bali to regain a little strength. When the monkey again opened his eyes, Rama said, "O Bali, you clearly do not understand religiousness, righteousness, and religion. This entire earth belongs to the descendants of Manu, having been bequeathed to them by that great deity and speaker of religious codes. Bharat now rules this world, and we, his brothers, are his servants. It is thus our duty to roam the earth, promoting virtue and punishing the wicked. You, O proud monkey, are indeed wicked." Rama then explained to Bali rules of morality. The younger brother should be regarded as one's own son, and his wife as one's daughter-in-law. Bali had therefore been guilty of a great sin in punishing the sinless Sugriva and cohabiting with Ruma, Sugriva's wife. The scriptures prescribed death as the punishment for one who has illicit sexual relations with his own daughter or the wife of his younger brother. There was no doubt that Rama's punishing him was just. Rama continued to address the pain-stricken Bali. "You are now freed from the sinful reaction which would have sent you to hell. A person punished by the king is released from all sins and ascends to heaven. But if the king fails to punish a sinner, then he himself incurs the sin. O Bali, you should not grieve, for you have been fortunate to receive the proper punishment, making you eligible for the higher planets after death. Nor did I act wrongly by remaining concealed. Since you are a monkey, this was the appropriate way to kill you. Just as when hunting, the king shoots arrows at animals while hidden from view, so I shot you." Bali could not argue. He had always felt remorseful for the way he had treated Sugriva, but had denied those feelings, remaining fiercely antagonistic toward his brother. Now he had finally received the result. All creatures had to accept the fruits of their own acts alone. No suffering or happiness came other than as a result of one's former acts. Understanding this, Bali accepted Rama's words as true and gave up his anger and grief. With difficulty, he replied, "How can a dwarf argue with a giant, O Rama? You are the best knower of all religious principles. I am justly punished. Please forgive my harsh words, spoken earlier, out of sorrow and confusion. I have certainly strayed from the path of virtue." Bali feared that after his death, his brother Sugriva would be antagonistic to his son Angada. He begged Rama to establish a friendship between the two monkeys. Rama assured Bali that Sugriva would rule the Vanaras with righteousness, treating Angada like a younger brother. Bali lost consciousness. His life all but ended. At that moment Tara ran out of the city, crying for her husband. She saw the monkeys who were Bali's followers, running about in all directions, seized with fear of Rama. Tara stopped some of them and asked them why they were fleeing. "See there, your mighty husband, struck down by Rama's arrow," they replied. "Death in the form of Rama is bearing him away. Leave quickly with us, for soon Sugriva will take over the city and drive us out, assisted by Rama's deadly arrows." Tara looked around and saw Bali lying on the ground. Nearby, Rama leant on his great bow. With a great wail, she ran toward her fallen husband, beating her breast and head. She fell at Bali's feet. The lordly ape resembled a mountain struck down by Indra's thunderbolt. Crying out, "My lord!" she rolled about in agony. Angada then also came there and dropped to the ground at his father's feet, overwhelmed with grief. Tara lamented loudly, "Get up, O tiger among monkeys! Why do you not greet me? Come with me now and lay upon your excellent couch. The bare ground is no place for a king to lay. Alas, it is obvious that the earth is more dear to you than myself. For you lie there, embracing her with your outstretched arms. What shall I do? Where shall I go? I am lost." Crying like a female osprey, the intelligent Tara thought how her husband had banished Sugriva and stolen his wife. Surely this was the fruit of those sinful deeds. How could she live now as a widow under the care of Sugriva, Bali's enemy? What would happen now to her dear son, Angada? Tara held Bali's feet, who still lay unconscious and was barely breathing. Hanuman greatly comforted Tara. This is the sure end of everybody, O gentle lady. All of us shall reap the results of our own deeds only, good or bad. As such, we gain nothing and do nothing for others by lamenting. Bali had reached the end of his allotted lifespan and will now rise to the higher regions. Do not grieve. Tara cried out in pain. She had no desire to live without Bali. Laying next to her husband, she determined to fast until death, following the path taken by Bali. As Tara sobbed, Bali opened his eyes and looked slowly about. Seeing Sugriva, he spoke to him affectionately. "O brother, please forgive my evil acts against you. Destiny did not decree that we should share happiness together. Accept now the rulership of the monkeys. I shall soon depart for Yamaraja's abode." Bali asked his brother to be kind to Angada. He also asked that Sugriva carefully protect Tara, always seeking her advice on important matters. Rama's orders should be closely followed, and Sugriva should always seek to please him. Sugriva, feeling despondent, nodded in assent to Bali's instructions. Bali then took off his celestial gold chain and gave it to Sugriva. Turning to Angada, he said in a whisper, "Dear son, I shall now depart from this world. Remain ever devoted to Sugriva's service, seeing me as you do myself." With his eyes rolling in pain and his teeth exposed, Bali gave up his life. His head fell to the side as his last breath gasped out. A great howl of sorrow went up from the many monkeys who stood surrounding Bali. "Alas, our Lord is gone. Who will protect us now? Who can equal Bali in strength and splendor?" Tara and Angada embraced Bali's body, wailing loudly. Sugriva was filled with remorse. He went before Rama and said, "I am a wretch who has caused the death of my own brother. Although he was always capable, my brother never killed me. But at the first opportunity, I had him slain. How can I take the kingdom now, stained as it is with Bali's blood? How can I tolerate seeing Tara and Angada weeping bitterly on my account?" Sugriva became overwhelmed by his feelings. He felt sure he would reap the terrible results of the sin of fratricide, and indeed the killing of a king. Bali was noble and had ruled the monkeys with justice and compassion. Having killed him, Sugriva was not fit to himself become a monarch. Everyone would simply condemn him. His only recourse was to enter fire along with the body of his brother. Sugriva begged Rama's permission to give up his life. The other monkeys could assist Rama in finding Sita. Rama was moved to tears upon hearing Sugriva's piteous lamentations. As he considered the monkey's sorrowful words, Tara approached him and said, O all-powerful one, I too shall enter the fire, along with Bali. I have no desire for life without my husband. Surely he will miss me, even among the Apsaras in heaven, for I have always been his most devoted servant." Tara begged Rama to kill her with the arrow which had slain Bali. "O Rama, the wife is always considered one with her husband. Therefore you need not fear the sin of killing a woman. You will only be completing the task of killing Bali by taking my life. I cannot tolerate the pain of separation from my spouse. Surely you know only too well what terrible pain is like, what that terrible pain is like." Rama looked compassionately at Tara, who had fallen to the ground. He consoled her most gently. "O wife of a hero, do not think in this way. This entire creation yields happiness and distress, one after another, for all created beings in accord with their destiny. Where will you go to avoid your fate? Be peaceful here. Having duly mourned for your husband, you will soon enjoy as much delight under Sugriva's protection as you did with Bali. Your son will become Prince Regent, and you will be honored. All this is ordained by Providence, O Tara. The wives of heroes never lament as you are doing now." Rama instructed Tara according to the moral codes which applied to her race. On the death of her husband, she should accept his brother as her spouse and serve him as she had Bali. Tara became silent, gazing at Rama, who now turned to Sugriva to comfort him. Rama told Sugriva to take heart and attend to Bali's funeral. The soul of the monkey king would not be helped by simply grieving for him. The time for grieving must soon end, and duties must be performed. Rama said gravely, "Time controls everything. Bali has succumbed to all-powerful time, going to the regions he has earned by his own acts. Now time is urging you to perform your religious duties toward your brother." Sugriva stood looking at Rama. His mind was bewildered with grief and remorse. Lakshman took hold of the monkey's arm and told him to proceed with Bali's cremation. Lakshman gave detailed instructions to the confused Sugriva. Hearing the prince speak, Sugriva's attendants ran to carry out his orders. Rama again spoke to the grieving Tara. "O Vanara queen, carefully consider whether or not this dead body of Bali was ever related to you. It is nothing but a collection of inert chemicals. The real person is the soul, not the body. In ignorance only do we form relationships based upon bodily considerations, calling others husband, son, or friend." Rama explained that the soul is without designations. It is eternal and dwells for only a short time in the body. During our brief sojourn in our bodies, we form so many illusory relationships, but all of these will undoubtedly be broken by the force of time. The soul's real happiness lies in its relationship with God. Bali had now moved closer to that eternal relationship, and no one need lament for him. As Rama spoke, Bali's grieving relatives felt relief. Gathering themselves together, they prepared for Bali's funeral. A beautiful wooden palanquin was fetched. Bali's body was carefully laid on it, and it was lifted up by 8 powerful monkeys. Bali looked like a fallen god. The palanquin was adorned by numerous carvings of birds, trees, and fighting soldiers. Over its top was lattice work, covered with a net, and many garlands and jeweled ornaments. The sides of the palanquin were daubed with red sandal paste, and lotus flowers were laid out along its edges. Sugriva and Angada bore the palanquin along with the other monkeys. Sugriva had regained his composure, and he issued orders to the monkeys, "Walk ahead of us," scattering the ground with jewels of every description. "Let learned monkeys recite the scriptures, and we shall proceed slowly to the cremation ground." The procession moved off, heading toward the riverbank. A great wail was sent up by the many females who walked in front. Gradually they came to the river, and a funeral pyre was built on its bank. The palanquin was set down next to the pyre, and Tara again fell to the ground, crying mournfully, "O hero, why do you not cast your glance upon me today? See here your wives, all weeping, who have trodden along the long path behind you. Here are your ministers, sunk in a sea of dejection. O Bali, dismiss your counselors now, as you did in the past. Then we shall sport together, intoxicated with love." The other women gently raised Tara, who was overwhelmed with sorrow. With the help of Sugriva and the weeping Angada, they lifted Bali's body onto the pyre. Angada then lit the pyre and walked around his father, who had set out on his journey to the next world. All the others joined him in slowly circumambulating the blazing pyre. Everyone then entered the river and offered sacred water to Bali's soul. After the obsequies were performed, Sugriva and his counselors surrounded Rama and Lakshman. Hanuman, who resembled a golden peak of Mount Meru, folded his hands and said to Rama, "By your grace, O Raghava, has Sugriva acquired the ancestral kingdom of the Vanaras. Please enter this city of Kishkinda in state, and with your permission, we will perform the coronation ceremony." Rama looked stern as he replied, "Commanded by my father, I shall not enter even a village for 14 years, much less a city. You may proceed into the city and duly install Sugriva as your king. I shall remain outside, finding some suitable cave for my residence." Rama instructed Sugriva to remain in Kishkinda for the coming few months. It was the beginning of the monsoon season, so it would be impossible to search for Sita. When the rains ended, Sugriva should dispatch the monkeys in all directions to look for Ravana and the princess. Sugriva took leave of Rama and went into his city, which was situated within a vast mountain cave. In accordance with scriptural injunctions, a grand coronation ceremony was performed. Everyone repeatedly extolled Rama and Lakshmana, feeling honored by the friendship of the two princes from Ayodhya. Sugriva was reunited with his wife, Ruma, and he entered Vali's magnificent palace. Awaiting the end of the rainy season, he lived happily, surrounded by his wives and ministers. Thus end the part 2, chapter 11, Rama meets the monkeys.